This conference will now be recorded.
హలో హలో విద్యశ్రీ గారా మార్నింగ్ అండి యాంగులర్ డెమోకి రిజిస్టర్ అయ్యారు కదండి స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది ఇప్పుడు కనెక్ట్ అవుతారా మెయిల్ పంపించండి మీకు ఓకే చూడండి మెయిల్ రాకపోతే నాకు వాట్సాప్ చేయండి సేమ్ నెంబర్ వాట్సాప్ లో నేను షేర్ చేస్తాను ఓకే
రూపకే ఇప్పుడు చేసింది రూప చేయండి, హరీష్ చేయండి. హలో
Good morning, sir.
This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, clear.
Yeah. Okay. So, good morning, good evening, or whatever time zone you're in. So, yeah. So, my name is Arvind. I'll be your instructor probably for next couple of months. So, I'll be teaching you HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Angular, and React will be covered by another faculty. Probably after Angular is done, React will be covered by another faculty. So, little bit about me. Like I have overall 8 years of experience into IT, and I worked for multiple companies. Currently, I'm working in one of the product-based company in Hyderabad. I work as a full stack developer, not only HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I'll also work on Java, Python, sometimes on big data things as well. So that's my introduction. So without any delay, let's get started. So this class, we will have, I usually cover HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Along with it, I'll also cover Angular. So this is, and another faculty will be covering React. So you don't need to worry about that. But myself, I'll be covering these four things. I'll take 2 months to cover all these four. HTML, I will take probably 1 week for HTML. And for CSS, similarly, hello? Yeah, for CSS again, I'll take 1 week. And for JavaScript, I'll take 2 weeks. So, and then we'll switch our gears to Angular. So this is this is the overall course part from my side, and React, I think it will be covered after that. After these 4 courses were done. So that's the strategic idea for the next couple of months. So we'll be covering all the almost latest technologies, and whatever is the latest version, we'll be covering all of them. So that's the thing. And without any delay, let us look at HTML. Let's start our.
So yeah, I have one query. Hello. Hello. Yeah, I have one query. This is Suresh speaking. Is it audible,
Okay.
my voice?
Yes.
Yeah, I have one query. Before going to start this Angular JS and React JS, I would like to understand the skill sets. Like, do we need Java skill set is compulsory to understand this programming language?
Not required actually. So HTML, CSS, JavaScript, these 3 are required. Anyhow, I'll get into those details. Just give me some time. Probably by end of today, you'll be able to understand all those details. Okay.
Okay. Is it only programming language only, right? This Angular JS and React JS.
Yeah, they're kind of programming languages. Yeah, they depend on JavaScript for all the things. So once we learn JavaScript, I think they all will be simple. Angular and React will be simple.
Okay.
Yeah, but just give me some time. I'll be able to clear all your doubts by end of today. You'll be also getting some clarity on what is Java, what is JavaScript, and all those things. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I have some couple of queries. Anyway, end of the session we can discuss.
Yeah, we can discuss. Yeah. Okay, fine. So without any delay, let's get started with HTML. So before understanding HTML, before going ahead and understand HTML, we have to understand little bit basics on what is web, how web actually works in the current scenario, and how is this everything internally works. Like, let's assume if we go ahead and load google.com in your browser, like if I open my browser and I'll go to google.com, how is this google.com actually loading into your browser? What is actually happening internally? The time you entered google.com in the browser and press enter, and the way you see the screen, the Google image and this content or the screen. So how is this actually working internally? So let us understand that part to understand more about the HTML and other CSS and JavaScript technologies. Okay, so let us say we are entering google.com in the browser. It's like, this is what we have done, right? What we have done, we have entered google.com in the browser URL bar. That's what we have done. So once we enter google.com in the browser URL bar, what browser will do is, the first step or the first action, what browser will do, sir? So browser will go to a place called as
DNS server, name server.
Yeah. So the browser will go to a place called as DNS. So DNS stands for domain name system. DNS stands for what's that? Domain name system. So when we enter google.com, it will go to the DNS. What this DNS will do is DNS will act as a phone book. Like in your mobile, you'll have a phone book, right? So what is a phone book? So you'll have name of the person along with the name. What you will have, sir? You will have the phone number of that person associated with it. So you're actually calling that name means you're not calling actual that name. You're calling that phone number, means you're entering that phone number. Similarly, when you enter google.com, it will go to this DNS, domain name system, and there are multiple servers in this domain name system. So in this, it will find for this google.com what is the IP address. What is the IP address? So IP address will be like 192.168. something something like that. There will be an IP address. So now what will happen, sir? DNS server, this DNS server will respond to the browser. Will respond to the browser with what, sir? With IP address like 10.192.168. something something. So 10 is like it's for local, not 10. It's basically something else. Not this IP address, but actually some other IP address will get. So whenever you enter google.com in the browser, can you keep yourself in mute? Can you keep yourself on mute? I am listening some disturbance. Okay, fine, thank you. So whenever you enter google.com in the browser, it will go to this DNS system. It will go to this DNS servers, and what DNS servers will respond, sir? DNS servers will respond with the IP address. Means the IP address associated with the actual google.com. It is just a name on top of the IP address, like how we have for mobile number, how we have the name, right? Similar way, this IP address will have the name associated, that is called as google.com. Now what will happen once we got this IP address like 10.192.196. something that IP address? What our browser will do, sir? Browser will go to that IP address. Browser will go to that IP address. So this IP address, it is called as something called as server. It is called as what, sir? Server. This IP address is called as server. In this, all the Google's code, the source code is running. All the Google's, all these things will be running in this server. Now browser will go to this server and it will create a request. It will create a request and it will go to the server. It will create a what, sir? It will create a request. It will create a request and it will go to this server. So server will take the request, server will process the request, and server will send what, sir? Server will send. So whenever there is a request, what server will send, sir? What it will send? It will send something called as response. It will send something called as response. Request, and next it will give you response. Okay. Now what response server will send to the browser? That response is nothing but HTML. That response is nothing but what, sir? HTML. It will not only send HTML, there are other responses also available, like TXT response is available, like JSON response is available, and like there is also something called as octet stream. This is very difficult. Octet stream. This is nothing but you'll get some PDF files, right? You'll get some PDF files, images, all these things. So this will be like octet stream. Okay. Now what server will send to the browser, sir? What server will send to the browser, sir? Tell me, what is that? That is HTML. Now your browser is called as client. Your browser is called as client, and this is called as what, sir? This IP address which Google has received from the DNS. This is called as what, sir? Server. This is client. This is server. So this is called as client server interaction. Client will send a request to the server, and server will give the response. That response will be in the form of HTML. Now whenever there is a request to the server, right? Whenever there is a request to the server, server has to process your request, right? Server has to process that request and it has to send the response. Server has to process your request and it has to send the response. So that processing at the server, is happening. That processing at the server is happening with some technologies called as either Java, PHP, C#, Python. All these technologies, the processing is happened at the server. Once the processing has happened, server will send the response. That response will be in the form of HTML. Now some people might be confusing, Arvind, what is JavaScript and what is Java? JavaScript and Java. JavaScript and Java are purely different technologies, except that fellows made this word Java as common. Except this word Java as common, JavaScript and Java are two different technologies. They are not at all. They are like two different worlds altogether. So people who use JavaScript is different and people who use Java is different. So Java is used in where, sir? When there is a request and somebody has to what, sir? What they have to do, sir? Somebody has to process that request. To process that request at the server. At the server, we'll have Java, PHP, C# and Python. Or there are some other things like Go. There are other languages out there. These are server-side technologies. Means where they will run, sir? Where they will run? Tell me. They will run at the server. What they will do, sir? Once client sends a request, the processing in the server is done by using these technologies: Java, PHP, C#, Python, and these things. That's why they are called as backend technologies. Means they are not happening at the front. They are happening at the back. They are happening at the server level. So that's why they are called as backend technologies. All this Java, PHP, C# and Python. Okay. Now let us come to little bit further. Let us come to a place called as this place. Let's come to this place. So what is this called as, sir? What is this called as? Tell me. What is this called as, sir? Client. This is called as what, sir? Client. So this client is nothing but your web browser. Your web browser which enters google.com. Like you enter google.com in the web browser, right? So that is called as what, sir? That's called as client. That's called as client. And this is called as server. So the languages used in the server are Java, PHP, C#, Python, and etc. will be used in the will be run at the server. In the browser, which language will execute? You know, sir. In the browser, the language which will execute is JavaScript. It's called as JS, JavaScript. Along with this HTML, server will also send some JavaScript files. Server will also send some JavaScript files and some CSS files to the browser. Along with the HTML, whenever you send a request, server will also respond with HTML and some JavaScript and some CSS and some other files also will be there. But so now this HTML, JavaScript and CSS, they will not run in the server. Server will just respond them to the browser. They will not run in the server. Server will just respond these to the browser. And now what will happen, sir? After the response, server will execute these three: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Server will execute these three, and it will display the screen, and it will display the response in the screen. So where is this JavaScript and CSS, HTML is executing, sir? At which place? At the server or at the client? They are executing at the client. What is client? Client is nothing but your web browser. So as this JavaScript, CSS, and HTML are executing at the front means wherever you are sitting, are executing at the front, they are called as front end technologies. And this Java, PHP, C# and Python, whatever, they are executing at the server. That's why they are called as what, sir? What they are called as, sir? What they are called as? Tell me once again, sir. Anybody?
Backend technologies.
Backend technologies. What are front end, sir? HTML, CSS,
CSS, JavaScript.
JavaScript. They are called as front end because where they will execute? They will execute at the browser. Who will execute them? They will execute it by your browser. But this PHP and whatever all these things, they will be executed by your server. That's why they are
Backend
server-side
technologies.
technologies. Backend technologies, or some people also call as server-side technologies because they execute at the server. Okay. Now what is the role you are going to apply for? You are going to apply for backend or you are going to apply for front end? You are going to apply for front end. This course is for front end technologies. So what language you should know, sir? What languages you should know, sir? See, what languages? JavaScript. What technologies? Basically, not languages. JavaScript, and you'll also should know CSS, and you'll also should know HTML. Okay. Now people will be asking, Arvind, HTML, CSS, JavaScript is fine. You are also taking money for what is this course? What is this course, sir? What is this course for? Mainly for what? Angular and
React.
Arvind, you are saying that server will send only HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Then why should I know Angular and React? Wow, good question. Whether you write code in Angular, whether you write code in React, end of the day, everything has to be converted to either CSS, either JavaScript or HTML. That's it. Browser will not know something which is foreign. Browser will know only these three. You want to make browser understand something? Then write in CSS, JavaScript, and HTML. What is HTML stands for? Hypertext Markup Language. HTML stands for what, sir? Hypertext Markup Language. Hypertext Markup Language. JS. What is JS stands for, sir? JavaScript. It is simple. JavaScript. What is CSS stands for, sir? Cascading Style Sheets. Cascading Style Sheets. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. Angular and React, anyhow, you guys know. So whether you learn Angular or React, finally browser will understand only these three: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So to understand Angular or to understand React, the prerequisites are you should know what and what, sir? CSS, JavaScript, and HTML. If you know these three, then Angular and React, you will be able to learn Angular and React. For Angular, you should also know something called as there is another language called as
TypeScript.
So you see here TypeScript. So what is TypeScript? TypeScript is nothing but something written on top of JavaScript. Like JavaScript is for Java developers and for C# and Python developers. No, these backend fellows, they are not able to understand JavaScript very well. It means they are not able to write efficient JavaScript. These backend developers, no, these backend fellows, Java fellows or PHP fellows or C# fellows or Python fellows, these fellows are not able to write JavaScript efficiently. They are not able to write JavaScript efficiently. They are taking some time to write JavaScript efficiently. And what Microsoft has done, okay. So our backend people are taking some time to write JavaScript efficiently. Let us create a language on top of JavaScript that will look similar to these languages, but that is like that will work like JavaScript. So they want to create a language that will look like backend, but internally it is nothing but JavaScript. Like finally it is nothing but JavaScript. That is TypeScript. If you know JavaScript, TypeScript is dead simple. It is not that much difficult. If you already know these guys, right, Java or C# and anything, then TypeScript is like a cakewalk for you. If you don't know them also, if you don't know this backend also, we are good. I'll be teaching TypeScript in this class. I'll be teaching based on top of JavaScript. Like I'll be covering the topics which is required for Angular and all these things in this session itself. Once we start Angular, we'll also learn TypeScript. It is not that much hard compared to JavaScript. Like if you know JavaScript, TypeScript will be also simple for you. Whatever JavaScript code we write, we can also write the same in TypeScript also. So no need to worry. In olden days, people used to use CoffeeScript, but nowadays that is obsolete. Nobody is using that CoffeeScript. But TypeScript is good for us right now. So for learning Angular, we need TypeScript. I think React people also nowadays shifting to TypeScript. So not an issue. I'll teach TypeScript in this Angular session. But for now, we will concentrate mainly on CSS, JavaScript, and HTML. See, if you know these three, right? Today Angular is there. Tomorrow some other Bangalore will come. Some other thing will come. You should be able to learn. But for that, for any other thing, the basis would be CSS, JavaScript, and HTML. If you are going to be a front-end developer, the major thing you will be concentrating on, what's that? CSS, JavaScript, and HTML. So I'll pause for any questions now. I'll give some time for any questions. Any questions, please?
Yeah. Aravind, two questions I have. One
Sure.
is, what is dependency on React.js when you start Angular JS here?
No dependency.
Both are separate to learn React.js also?
Yes. If you learn CSS, JavaScript, and HTML, any front-end technology you can learn parallelly, either Angular,
Okay.
either React, or some other
What
things
is the
also.
difference here, Angular JS and React JS?
Difference in the sense they are two vendors. One is from Google, one is from Facebook. Both of them, they are solving the same problem. Same use case they are solving, but one is from Google, one is from Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
whatever you
another
do in Angular
question.
can be done in React. Whatever you do in React can be done in Angular. But these two are two technologies developed at two different organizations. One is at Google and one is at Facebook.
And you mentioned client server, right? This is a client server. When person using the system and using the browser, where this server is sitting?
So I told you, right? What is the IP address you have? This IP address
Okay.
is your server. You'll get the IP address, right?
For google.com.
Yes.
Okay. That IP address sitting on the server.
Yes, that IP address means that is the location of your server. This is the place where server is sitting, this IP address.
Okay. So in real world, IP address means near to our internet center, something like that. It is called server.
See, now we are
It
going
might be
towards
silly question why I'm asking, but I wanted to understand when you use google.com, like for example, that is a DNS name. It gives so when using DNS name, it is google.com. But when we use IP address, yes, it will reach to the server and server will give the IP address. So I would like to understand here in this simple example where the server is in place.
See, server is sitting anywhere in the world. Either it could be near to our home, or either it could be in US, or either it could be in some other place. So with the IP address, what will happen is there is something called as network routing. Okay. Now in the browser, whenever we enter this IP address, for some other people it could be a little difficult, but please bear with me. So as the question is asked, I'm explaining this. Now what will happen is whenever you send a request to the browser, first whenever you send a request, once we get the IP address, right? So with this IP address, there is something called as network routing happens. First, what will happen from your machine, it will go to your local router in your home. If there is a router, it will go to that router.
Yes,
from that router, it will go to ISP. What is ISP? Internet Service Provider.
Okay.
From ISP, it will go to next routers. Like so, there will be a chain of routers who will be taking the request, and it will be identifying the server. It will be identifying the server using this IP address. Like how we identify the phone number, phone with the phone number, right? Like how Airtel identifies the phone with the phone number. Similarly, that network routing using this IP address format, like there is something called as IP address format. With this IP address format, there will be a series of routers. They will be routing that request to the computer network, and they will be reaching to that server. So in between, there will be switches, there will be routers, and from there, from ISP to router, from router there will be a switch or something, and from there it will reach to the server. And the same way, server will give the response. Same way, the response also will travel from that server location to your browser using the same way. It will come to routers, and from their routers it will come to your ISP. From ISP it will come to your local router, and from there it will come to your machine.
Yeah, got your point. So thank you so much.
The point between your browser and server, it is called as computer network. So whatever I think people from computer science background, or people already working in some other organizations, so they might be knowing. So there is a concept called as computer networks in computer science. So what the computer networks teaches is how a packet, how data moves from client to server in the network. Like there will be a series of networks, how the data moves from client to server in the network, and from server to client in the network. So for that, there is also, so somebody might be doing, somebody called as network admins. So they will do all these things, network admins, or somebody comes with CCNP, Cisco Certified Network Programmer. All those fellows will take care of all these things. That's the
Yeah, thanks, Arvind. I got your point. There are 7 layers in the network area. So yeah, I got your point. Thank you.
7 layers is OCI, and there is something also called as TCP by IP. So
yeah, TCP
by, yeah, that is 4 layers. So yeah, we'll not go into discussion of that networking. Yeah, anyhow, I'm interested in that, but anyhow, we'll not go into that part. Okay. Now, okay, let us switch gears and let us talk about HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Okay. So now, question for you. Question. As we are past half an hour, there is a question for you. HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Where are those files residing? Question number 1. Where are those files? Question number 2. Who will execute those files? Are we good with the question? First question, where are those files sitting? And second question, who will execute those files? Can anybody answer that question?
Those are in browser itself.
Where are those files sitting? Where are those files sitting, and who is executing those?
They are sitting in DNS, and browser is executing them. The client is executing them.
Okay, so I think let me explain the concept of DNS once again. So we'll send a request to the DNS server, and DNS server will respond with only the IP address. DNS server will respond only with the WhatsApp IP address. It will not respond anything. So can you keep yourself in mute? Can you keep yourself in mute, sir? Yeah. So we send a request. First, we'll enter google.com in the browser. And browser will send a request to the DNS, and DNS will just give you the IP address. It will not do anything else. DNS will just give you the WhatsApp IP address. DNS will just give the IP address. So let us go to google.com. If you enter google.com in the browser, first request will go to DNS, and DNS will just give you WhatsApp the IP address. Once we have got the IP address, then DNS is gone. Then DNS is no more required. Then DNS, it is like a phone book. Once we got the IP address, then DNS is no more required. So once we have got the IP address, now once the browser got the IP address, now browser will send a request to that IP address. That IP address is nothing but your server. Server and DNS both are different. Server is something which is sitting somewhere else, and in that actual your HTML, CSS and JavaScript files will be residing in the server. They are just sitting there. The HTML, CSS and JavaScript files will be sitting in the server. Once we send the request to the server, Java, PHP and C# will process that request, and it will send the response, either HTML, CSS and JavaScript. It will send the response to the browser, and browser will execute that HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Okay, so DNS server's responsibility is to just give the IP address. It is to just give the IP address. Once browser got the IP address, then DNS is gone. It is just like your phone book, sir, searching for IP address. Yes. So once we search for the IP address, then this is gone. After you search for the IP address, after browser searches for the IP address, browser will send the request to server. It is like calling to the server. Hi server, hello, how are you doing? Okay, so here is my request, send me the response. That response will be HTML, CSS and JavaScript. That response will be HTML, CSS and JavaScript. And browser get that response, and browser will execute this response. Browser will execute HTML, CSS and JavaScript, and it will display the response on the screen. So the flow once again, the first step is WhatsApp sending the request to, like let me show you in real example. Like let us go to the terminal. I am using MacBook, sir, you can use anything of your wish. You can use Windows also. You can use Windows also. Same I'll do. So I just say ping google.com. I think most of you might know the ping part. The ping is basically to check whether the server is up or running. Okay. Now once we ping, sir, what are we getting here? What are we getting here, sir? What are we getting here? This is the
IP address.
IP address. This is the IP address. Let us copy this IP address in place of google.com. Let me enter the IP address. Okay, let me enter the IP address. Now what are we getting, sir? Same google.com now. Yes or no? So
Yes. Got your
in
point.
place of this, I'm just sending the IP address. Now we are receiving the same google.com. So either we can use google.com or we can use this IP address. This is just your phone. This is just your phone book. Either you can use the name. If you use the name, what will happen? It will go ahead and search for the number and it will do a call. If you don't use the name, you can directly type a number also. That will also work. So once we type the number, request will go to the server, and in the server, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files will be sitting, and the response will be coming to the client, and the client will execute this HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files. Now tell me the question and the answer. Where the HTML, CSS files, JavaScript files are sitting, and who is executing those files?
Both are in a browser place, at client place.
Well, they are sitting in the server and the client is executing.
Yes, they are sitting in the server and client is executing those files. So whenever you send a request, server will respond with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Yeah, they are actually sitting in the server. Once we send the request, what will happen, sir? Server will, you have sent the request now. Okay, take this HTML file, take this JavaScript file, take this CSS file, and go. Okay, so once you send the request and they are sitting in the server and the response will be coming to the client. Okay, client will understand HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and they will execute, and you will see the response on the screen. Okay. Now, if you are interested and if you are Arvind, I want to see the actual response. I want to see everything. I want to see the actual response. Okay. Now you see the google.com, right? Right click. There is something called as view page source. What is this? This is your what? Tell me, sir. In this diagram, what is this? This is your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You see the code here. So once again, I'll show you in the Google. Right click on the page and go to view page source. You will see some code. This code is nothing but your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. This code is nothing but your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Arvind, this is very difficult to understand. It seems very complex, na? HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. No, this is machine generated code. It will be difficult, but we will break it down. Don't have to worry.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yes.
All the three CSS, JavaScript, and HTML will be executed at the same time, sir.
Okay. So that depends on the browser. There is a browser engine. So there is a browser engine. For JavaScript, there is a browser engine which will execute this JavaScript and CSS and HTML. So not at the same time, but with a gap of milliseconds and microseconds, they'll be executing. If you talk about really within a gap of milliseconds or microseconds, they'll be executing. Internally there will be 3 threads running in the browser. One thread will be executing JavaScript, one thread will be executing HTML, and one will be executing CSS internally. Or see, it depends on the browser actually. Yeah, it depends on the browser.
All the three are required at the same time. Yes, sir?
Yes, all the 3 are required at the same time. You need to execute means you need all the 3. You can skip one of them and you can skip some things, but they are required. If you want to execute them, they are required, all the 3 at the same time. Exactly.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So now so let us come out of this part, this server and client part. let us now write a simple HTML file, and let us understand how to write the HTML code, and let us see how that will be working. Okay, so to write HTML code, or to write JavaScript code, or to write CSS code, right now we are not using any IDE, any integrated development environment. IDE means integrated development environment. So there are some IDEs available in the market, but we are not using any of those IDEs. We are using a plain text file to write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code. To write plain HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code. So right now, let us start the basics of HTML, and moving forward, we will understand everything. Let us see how to write HTML, and how do we write HTML code. And next, going forward in the next weeks, we will see how to write CSS and JavaScript code also. Okay. Now, so if you are using Windows or Mac, the process is the same. So let us go to, if you are using Windows, you have to use Notepad. As I'm using Mac, I'm using TextEdit. Using TextEdit, and okay. So to write any HTML code, so the first thing which we have to do is, we have to write something called as HTML. Sir, you're able to see, sir? Everyone is able to see the font. That's something called as HTML, open tag, and this open less than symbol and greater than symbol, whatever you call, angular brackets or whatever you call. This HTML, open bracket, and or less than symbol and greater than symbol. We have to write HTML, and we have to write next open tag and closing tag HTML. Right, open tag and closing tag HTML. Okay, so this is how we need to write, sir. HTML. Now, whatever the code you write inside this HTML, so that is your HTML code. So the first thing is we have to write HTML, open tag, and HTML, closing tag. This is called as a tag in HTML. This is open tag, and this is what's a closing tag. Open tag, closing tag. So whatever the code you write has to be started with HTML and has to be ended with this closing tag in the HTML. Okay. Now, inside the HTML, there are two parts. So let us take human body. What does human body have, sir? The first part is on top. What is there, sir? Above the neck. What is there, sir? Above the neck, what we have? What we have above the neck? Head. Oh, somebody told. Head, yes. Okay, then let us write head. Okay. Head, open tag, and after that, head will also have what, sir? If you are opening something, you should also close. Otherwise, you will lose a lot of money. Similarly, in HTML also, like if you are opening bank account and if you are not using, what SBI Bank will do, sir? It will charge you a lot of money every month, every year. Okay. If you are opening something, you have to close it also. Now, similarly, if you are opening HTML and if you are closing HTML. Now, head, if you are opening, should also close what, sir? Head is closed. Okay. After head, what will be there in your body, human body? Just don't say those kind of things. I'll mix everything into one thing. I'll call it as a body. Okay. Let us name it as body. I will not write neck and arms and those kind of things. I'll call it as body. Similarly, HTML, head is there, and after that, what is there, sir?
Body.
Is there. Body, excellent. Body. Okay. Body. Just give me a minute. Can you just give me a minute? Okay, sorry. Okay. Now, in the body, we will write hello world for now. Hello world. Okay. So let us save this. Okay, let us save this, and we'll have to save it with the .html extension. Like we'll have to save this with .html extension. So hello world dot html, hello world dot html. Okay, now click on save. Sir, if you are using Windows, no, all these kind of things won't be there. You can do it simply using Notepad because Mac is a little this thing. So now we have saved the file using hello world. We have saved the file using hello world. There is HTML, there is head, and there is body. Head part we will discuss, and body part also we will discuss later on. There is a week, we will discuss all of them. But today we will understand how to execute the code. Okay. Now go to my location. I have saved it in this place. Okay, I named it as hello world. Okay, forget about it. Okay. Now we have this HTML code. How do we run this, sir? Right click, open with Google Chrome. Now once we open with Google Chrome, sir, you see hello world. Hello world. You see the output here. Hello world. So this is how we will write the HTML. It's simple, sir. Just right click, open with, sir, if you are using Internet Explorer or if you are using something else. If you are using Internet Explorer, then I think you might have already having white hair and you might be pretty old, like 80 or 90 years old. Don't use Internet Explorer. Don't use anything else. Firefox is fine for me, but Safari or Internet Explorer don't use. Use only Google Chrome. I'm not saying that it will not work. It will work, but there used to be a very common this thing. You will use Internet Explorer only when will use Internet Explorer, sir? Can you have answer for that question? Anybody? When do you use Internet Explorer? Anyone? No? Okay, fine. Let me answer that question. You will use Internet Explorer only to download Google Chrome. Okay, you will never use Internet Explorer for other things. You will use Internet Explorer only to download Google Chrome. Once we download Google Chrome, then go on Internet Explorer or whatever, Internet Explorer, whatever these fellows are called nowadays. There are other versions. What is that? What is the other name, sir, for Internet Explorer? Recent version released now. What is that? Anybody can tell?
Edge.
Edge. And after that, they have released Edge, recent version, I think. What they have done, in the Edge, they have copied the Google Chrome code and they pasted there, and they used that only in the new version of Edge. They are not able to pop up with the Internet Explorer. They have taken the Google Chrome's engine that is called as Chromium. They will use that and they created the same browser. Okay, fine, that's out of topic. But so right click, open with only what, sir? Only Google Chrome. I recommend Google Chrome, but if you're using Firefox also, that's fine, but recommend Google Chrome. Open Google Chrome. Okay. Now in the browser URL, now what you are seeing, sir? /users/Navin Swarna/document/career ID /hello world. Okay. Now where is this file sitting? Where is this file sitting? Tell me. Where is this file sitting?
In your local machine.
In my local machine. So if I use google.com, where is this file sitting?
Server.
So here in this case, it is sitting in the server. That's why you see the IP address, right? You will see https://www.google.com. HTTPS means hypertext transfer protocol. That's a different thing altogether. And you're using google.com. All these things will happen. Now it will connect to the server and it will do the things. But if you see here, what is the IP address? What is the URL? Now you see here, this is what, sir? File protocol. File. It is file. Here it is what, sir? HTTPS. Here it is connecting to the server and doing all these things. But in this case, here it is serving it from your local file system. It is not going to anywhere else. It is serving from your local file system. There is no server. There is nothing here. Just it is serving the file from your local file system. That's why here you see the file protocol. This is called as protocol. This is called as file protocol. But if you see here, this is https://google.com. This is called as domain name. This is sitting somewhere else, but this is your file protocol. Now it is serving from your local. Means it is executing your HTML code from your local machine only. It is not taking from the server. It is taking from your local machine. If you want to see the source code, right? Again, right click. Again, what you do, sir? View page source. View page source. Now you see, now you will be able to understand. What is there, sir? Head HTML, closing HTML. What we have, sir? Head, closing head. Body, closing body. Okay. And In this we are writing hello world program. This we are writing hello world program. Okay, so this is how we need to write HTML code. We will see more details in the coming classes, but this is the basic example which we will write to do the HTML coding. Okay, so I'll pause for any questions. Any questions?
Sir, HTML and all those are the machine languages, sir.
What do you actually mean by machine languages? So like machine languages means?
Languages means that is the program which machines can understand.
Okay,
Means
okay. I think okay, I got your question. So there are three kind of languages. One is called as machine level language. One is called as assembly language. One is called as high level language. So machine level language is in the form of ones and zeros. And next we have something called as assembly level language. That is something will be understood by your microprocessor or microcontroller. That will be, I think, if you have studied electronics and computer science engineering or electronics engineering or computer science engineering, there will be a something called as MP. I think the subject name is MP, microprocessor and microcontroller, MPMC or something. That is in your 3.2, I think, for JNTU Kakinada. That is your assembly level language. And whatever we are writing, everything is high level language. We are not using any machine level or low level. So whatever we write, we will be writing in high level. See, forget about machine level. Nowadays in 2020, nobody none of the people usually write in assembly level or machine level. Like machine level, forget. Machine level we cannot write, but whatever we write, it will be always in high level language. Your C, your Java, your JavaScript, everything will be in high level language. Everything will be high level language. Okay, so to answer a question deeply, so there are three kinds of languages, sir. There are three kinds. So which is called as machine level, or people also call it as low level. People also call it as low level, machine level or low level. This will be in the form of ones and zeros. Well, like you write 1 and 0, right? This will be in the form of 1 0 1 0. So sometimes in some hacking videos you will see, right, data will be transferring in some movies 1 0 1 0 1 0, like data will be transferring. That is your machine level or low level languages. Nobody uses this in real world. And then we have assembly level language. Assembly level is nothing but something which is good than machine level, but it is kind of also a little low level. It is like a processing, it is like coding for your microprocessor. Like in every computer you'll have a chip, right? You'll have i5 processor or i7 processor or something. So this is basically for microprocessor and microcontroller. Microprocessor or microcontroller. And then after that we have high level. High level is nothing but it will be in English. It will be in real English. Everything whatever we see like JavaScript, CSS, and HTML, all of them will be in high level languages. So yeah. Okay. Any other questions we have? Have you everybody got the course content?
Sir,
Course content.
sir, what about Vue.js, Node.js? These are same as the React.
Yeah. So Node.js is something else. Node.js we will see in Angular. I'll have a demo on Angular. In Angular we'll write Node.js code. Node.js is nothing but JavaScript, sir. We'll get into those details once we start JavaScript about Node.js. Right now, if I say also, you'll not be able to understand that about Node.js. That's a different technology. Node.js is for your backend. You have Java, right? Java is there, PHP is there, C# is there, Python is there, right?
Yes, sir.
Along with this, JavaScript fellows thought that, okay, you are writing every code in backend in Java. Okay, don't do that. Create another backend technology called as Node.js. In Node.js, we will write code in JavaScript at the backend. That will be confusing right now. That's why I did those
So
details.
you mean Node.js is also a backend language, not
Exactly.
front end?
Not front end. Node.js is a backend, but it has some use cases in front end also. That's why it is little confusing. we will get into those details once we start Angular. In Angular, I think if you look at the course content, I have one demo on Node.js because Node.js is trending in the market right now. I'll be covering that part also as a demo, not in depth, but as a demo. I'll be covering that. Coming to Vue.js
Okay, sir.
and Backbone.js, all these things, right? There are also some front-end technologies like Angular and React, and they are pretty old right now. They are obsolete.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. There are other things like for dependency injection. There are other JS files like there's something called as there are other old things, sir. A lot of JavaScript is very great in the market, no? Like if you look at Stack Overflow, Stack Overflow. This is your this is like Bible for developers. I think most of the people know this. Like memes are there, a lot of memes are there about this Stack Overflow. Whatever people do. You do coding only from Stack Overflow. You are a real coder. You are not. If you are a real coder, then you have to use Stack Overflow. So I always use Stack Overflow personally. I have to accept that. See, if I go to tags, right? So you see tags means what are the tags people are using while asking the question. Stack Overflow is a community for posting the questions and getting the answers. Like if you have any doubts in any language, you'll post a question and you'll get the answer like from experts. So that's the Stack Overflow. If you see Stack Overflow, right? So what is the most popular language you see on the screen, sir? You're able to see the screen?
Yeah, JavaScript, Java.
What is the most popular language? JavaScript. Coming after that, what, sir? Java. Next, Python. Okay. So JavaScript is so popular. Like every other day, now a new framework is getting released. Every fellow is releasing their own framework. Okay. So we don't need to learn all of these things, sir. Like, see, if you know real JavaScript, right? All those frameworks will be simple and easy to learn. Like there are a lot of frameworks available in JavaScript, very lot of frameworks. It is pretty huge, but nobody will learn all of them. It is very, very difficult. So what we learn is we learn the plain JavaScript, all the frameworks, like based on the experience we'll get, based on how we are proceeding, we'll be able to learn other frameworks. But for the interviews, nobody will ask, okay, tell me about all these things. No, in the interview, whatever you keep in the resume, if you have kept JavaScript and if you have kept Angular, they will ask you the plain JavaScript and the plain Angular. But in the resume you have kept some Backbone.js or there is something also MVVM. There is some other JS also there like Vue.js, like what somebody is asking. Vue.js. Vue.js is also something similar to Angular and React. Yeah. So what Vue.js is, there is one Angular developer who is there in the Angular team. That fellow is in Angular team. That fellow is working at Google. I forgot that fellow name. That fellow working in Google. That fellow is in Angular team because this is by Google. That fellow came out from Angular team and he created his own framework that he named it as Vue.js. And because he is from Google and because he is working in Angular team, that fellow framework has become popular. You're getting my point, sir? That's where the Vue.js has born. Okay, similar to that, there are a lot of frameworks available in the JavaScript. Don't need to worry. You don't need to remember all of those frameworks. Whatever you have kept in the resume, in interviews will be focused on that thing only, because that fellows don't know everything. The fellow who does the interview, that fellows don't know everything. Most of the interviews will be on plain JavaScript and the framework you keep. The framework could be either Angular or React or both. Most of the interviews will be on these two. And CSS and HTML anyhow, they are simple and nobody will go in depth into those details. A lot of the people will ask in JavaScript and Angular and React. Okay, if you are beginner, right? If you are 1 year or 2 years experience, then people will ask you HTML and CSS things. But if you are little experienced, if you are keeping some fake experience or something, but HTML and CSS you need, but they'll not be touched very that much depth in HTML and CSS. Mostly they'll touch in JavaScript, Angular, or React, whatever the framework you keep, or both. Okay, any other questions we have? Okay, fine. Okay, so from tomorrow onwards, we'll start learning HTML, sir. For the next 1 week, we'll start learning HTML. I will teach you all the tags of HTML for the next 1 week. Once we are good with the HTML, we will also start with CSS for the next 1 week. And after that, we will do a little kind of a task. Every day I'll be giving tasks, but at the end of 2 weeks, there will be much more tasks. At the end of every like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, there will be one session. There will be one task, and after JavaScript, I think I'll give you kind of big kind of session, big kind of task after HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and the task will be redone in Angular at the end. I'll not be exploring that in the class. I'll be giving you for self so that you can do those tasks at your home. If you have any doubts, you can mail me. I can give you that mail address tomorrow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Arvind, one doubt here. Do we
Yes.
have any dependency on databases here when you start learning and explaining all these JavaScripts and all? Do we need any database connectivity things and all?
No,
Not required. Okay.
not required. So everything, see, now, if you talk about this exam, if you talk about this thing, right, we are talking about HTML, CSS, JavaScript. They'll be working only on your browser. So we will learn only these three in the browser. Whoever learns server, right, that fellows will connect to database, and that fellow will do all these things.
So ultimately, we are making browsing pages, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. See, in olden days, right, ultimately we're making browser pages. In olden days, like in 1995 or 2000s or 2010, this HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to have, like, people think, okay, HTML and CSS and JavaScript is like a side dish. Like, it is like kind of like if you order biryani, right, you'll get raita or you'll get that. This is HTML, CSS, JavaScript is like that in 1990, 1995 or 2000s or 2010, like that. But nowadays, because of introduction to Angular and React, right, this HTML, CSS, JavaScript has got way more importance, way more importance. Like, now it has become the most popular thing. Like, see, in the back end, you will have a PHP, C#, Python, a lot of languages are there. But in the front end, only one language, JavaScript. Every backend developer will use multiple languages, but in the front end, there will be only one language, JavaScript. That's why front end has become so popular. Like, now it has overcome the backend also. This front end has overcome the backend also. So that's why you see what is the most popular tag set? JavaScript. So nowadays, people with UI developer is having great demand. Full stack anyhow will be having more demand, but UI developer is also having great demand in the market right now. Very great demand. If you keep Angular or React, at least per week you will get minimum 2 to 3 calls. Minimum 2 to 3 calls. I guarantee that, and you may get more than that also. If you want, I can show you the demo also. Update your resume with Angular and React experience and put it in Naukri. Per week you will get 2 to 3 calls. I'm not sure which country you're in. I'm talking about India. If you're in US, I think probably you'll get little more than that compared to India. Okay. Yeah.
So by using this Angular JS and all, we can create our framework, right, accordingly in the page web browser. If any customer requests to create any web page with menu bar, combo box, and menu items, all we can create by using this JavaScript technology.
Exactly.
Am I right, Arvind?
Yes, you're right. I'll get into those details tomorrow. Yeah, I intentionally skipped those details today. I'll get into those details tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, exactly. What you said is correct.
Yeah,
okay, guys.
Got your point.
If you have any,
Thank you.
If you don't have any other questions, I think we can close the session.
Can we have some contents explanation, like how we are planning to give? Can you give a high-level overview, Arvind, by showing the course contents? How we are planning to cover all these?
I think which I have sent you the course content, right? You have seen the course content. You guys have seen the course content?
I have seen, but I would like to understand from you how we are planning to manage the course and the course contents.
Sure, sir. Sure, I'll do.
Yeah, sorry for getting more on the time.
No, that's okay, not an issue. Okay. Now you see HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Week 1 we'll have HTML5. Like, we'll cover HTML, and at last we'll go to HTML5, sir. Introduction to web-ended internals, that is covered today. The web-ended internals that is covered today. And tomorrow we will see HTML tags, structure and basic HTML tags. And after that we'll see lists, images, links, blocks, inline elements, tables, page layout, and basic examples. And finally we'll have forms. Forms is a little big session. That's why I kept it over the weekend. On Saturday, I think forms will come. And next we'll cover HTML5 on Sunday. Every Monday you will have a holiday on every Monday. Weekend there will be class for 3 hours on weekends, Saturday and Sunday. But it might extend a little bit based on the course flow. Like if you are going a little fast, like we will reduce the content, we'll reduce the time. If you are going a little slow, then we will extend the weekend sessions, like from 3 hours to a little bit more. But most probably it is not required. We'll end the sessions mostly in 3 hours for every weekend. On Monday you'll get a holiday in India time. In US I am not sure. Like it might be Sunday evening. That's the HTML. Next we'll have CSS. So we'll cover CSS selectors and colors, backgrounds, and all these things on week 2. This is week 2. Bootstrap. Bootstrap will be a weekend session. Bootstrap is also a little important nowadays. So that is a weekend session, and responsive design is also a weekend session. And then we'll have JavaScript. JavaScript will go for 2 weeks. If anybody is having already programming experience, then it will be simple for them. But if you don't have also, I will teach by keeping in mind that you don't know anything. You don't know anything. You are like 10th class passed out. You have not studied BTech also. I know, I understand that how do we study BK, how do we study our engineering. I know that if you are CS, your computer science also. I know that how do we study.
Yeah, one day
college.
batting.
Yeah, one day batting. I used to. Okay, fine. Okay, but anyhow,
lot of backlogs.
Yeah. Okay, so that's why I think that you are not even, you haven't even studied intermediate. I think that you are from 10th class. That's how I explain the JavaScript, because JavaScript is hard for everything. If you know JavaScript, right, you can learn any other programming language. So that's why it is hard for everything. I'll explain it a little more. Here in this JavaScript part, there might be a little extension over the weekends in the JavaScript part. I'm just explaining because it has to be covered in 2 weeks. There will be a little extension over the weekends for JavaScript part, because this is core, this is heart, this is the like base of everything. Now this has become the biryani. Now everything has become side dish. Java also has become the side dish. Now this has become the biryani. So that's why I'll spend most of the time in JavaScript, like 2 weeks of time in JavaScript. But we have to understand it little well. This is the core. Next 4 weeks we'll cover Angular. So we will cover Angular updated version. Whatever is updated version, we'll cover that. I think 10 is the currently recent version, and 11 is also coming in. So we'll cover whatever is the recent. So, but we'll not cover over the version. We'll cover the core concepts first. Once we have the core concepts right, whatever the versions coming on top of it, it will be like simple to understand. We'll cover the core concepts first. So Angular we will see. So in the first week we'll see Node.js and writing the Hello World program, and we'll be seeing, like today I talked about the server, right? I talked about the server. Now in this session we will see how to create a server, and we will generate the REST API. There's something called REST API, which we will see. I think REST API, I'll also cover this REST API here at Ajax calls. In the Ajax calls, I'll cover the REST API. So, but I'll get into those details here at Angular part. I mean, see, usually people don't cover Node.js and REST API in Angular, but I feel that is important. That's why I'm covering that also as part of Angular. And we will also see how to use GitHub, which is very important for any developer. This is like a real-time kind of experience. And then we will see Angular and TypeScript. First week we'll cover all those things, and next we'll cover directives, we'll cover forms, and then we will cover services, and then we will see HTTP client, we'll see RxJS, we'll see Ajax calls, and here also we will see how to interact with REST API. And here we will see full-fledged demo, like you'll be writing database, you'll be writing server, and you'll be writing client, and you'll be seeing how the entire thing works on a bird's eye view. Like that means you'll be sitting at the 15th floor or 20th floor. From that floor you will see the actual things happening inside the web. That we will see at this session, at this part at line number 22. We will see that, and then we will see Angular, and then after that routing, and we will see how do we authenticate Angular apps, like login logout part, and we will see pipes, and after that we will see unit testing, and we will see how to deploy the app in the cloud. It is a simple thing. It's a one-click deployment. It is pretty simple. Okay, so this is the syllabus we are covering in this total 8 weeks. I think the stretches will be happening at probably at JavaScript part, sir. JavaScript part, there will be little stretch happening at JavaScript part, and there will be little stretch happening at the end, probably the last week. Little stretch, not more, but I make sure that I'll cover in time. But please be prepared for that. There will be little stretch happening at week 8, and probably at week 3 and week 4. there will be little stretch happening. Other than that, I think most of the time there will be 3-hour session over the weekend, and weekdays there will be 1-hour session. Most probably on Monday you will get a break. Monday will be a holiday for the course.
Are you not covering React.js here after Angular complete?
React will be covered by another faculty, sir. I am not good at React. There is a master at React. That guy will be covering the React. Master coming in React. So I know
Do
he
we
will
have
React.
Do we have course contents for React.js
Probably
as
you
well?
will get once we have. I think probably I think you can get it from Career IT guys. Probably
Okay.
I think we will get it. We'll get it, but not urgent because we are already starting this, right? We will get it a little slow.
Okay.
Okay. So it won't be hurry. We'll get it. We'll get it, but in some time we'll get it. Yeah. So one more thing, I don't expect you to learn anything for this class. Whatever I teach is that I'll keep in mind that you are from 10th class or you have just passed the 10th class. There are people who have attended my session just without passing the graduation or without passing intermediate in the previous days, and they have also working as independent developers, like they do some independent works. They'll not be they are not hired in any other company, but they are working on their own things. Like they'll get projects and they'll work on those projects in small companies. That is also happened in olden days. But yeah, that's it. Any other questions? Are we good so far?
I guess we are good.
So anybody else, any other questions? I think some people didn't talk. I hope they do have questions. They are not sleeping and they are not chatting with their fellow mates over there. I think they are there. They are not sleeping also. Okay, hopefully. I'm closing the session. We will start tomorrow with HTML tags and structures and basic structure HTML tag. Once we get into JavaScript, right, then you will get the full picture. But tomorrow we'll start with this HTML tags and basic structure, and yeah, that's for tomorrow. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Arvind. Thank you.
Thank you, Arvind. You too.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, then